Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Silver Years. My name is DK, and I'm very happy to be here, and I humbly thank you for joining me. Today, I want to talk about love as a frequency, and not in a new age, unrealistic, love is all we need to fix our every woe kind of way. Although there is no denying that the frequency of love can be a superpower when wielded with pure intent and wisdom. But like most things in our polarized world, the concept of love is a very wide and multi layered topic with many, many perspectives. From what I can tell, one of the biggest quandaries we have these days with the concept of love is that as a collective, we don't seem to really know what it is, how to define it for ourselves. And we don't really know how it works, let alone how to wield it as a superpower. It appears that much of what we're taught in Western civilizations, anyway, about the concept of love and what it should look like comes from Hollywood and the entertainment machine. We hear songs about it all day on the radio. We see it constantly in film, television, magazines. We scroll through versions of it on our social media platforms. We hear about it in celebrity gossip columns and even in the mainstream news, especially when love goes bad. It's as if the entertainment machine has defined for us in today's world what love should look like, feel like, how it should act and behave, and all the judgments that surround it when it falls apart or is unrequited. For me, I found the way love is so stereotyped and superficially glossed over to not only be illusionary and false in its surface presentation, but highly confusing, especially to our younger generations who don't have the benefit of mature life experiences to help them better understand that there are different kinds of love with a multitude of expressions. So much of what is out there is sexualized and personifies the message love equals sex when nothing could be further from the truth. I don't find the English language very helpful in this matter either. It's more of a hindrance to our overall understanding of what love is than anything else, I think. We have one word, love, LOVE, which, by the way, equates to a nine vibration in numerology for those who have an interest in numbers. We have one word, love, and that's supposed to cover it all with a broad brush, when more often than not, one word clearly isn't enough. If we want to be specific as to the type of love we're describing, we have to use two or more words to clarify, such as platonic love, romantic love, familial love, self love, and so on. But even at that, these words can still limit the depth and meaning of what love entails. Yet, when we look at the Greek, Sanskrit, and Arabic languages, for example, we can see that there are seven or eight unique words used to describe the types, stages, and depths of love, and not just with the use of synonyms. These languages have separate words with separate meanings. Through language and sound, and remember, sound is frequency, through language and sound, these unique words of love expand awareness within those cultures without Hollywood projections ever needing to get involved. This becomes part of the generational inheritance for those societies, and it includes the genetic imprint of what love is and how it can express itself using words as sound frequency. Ultimately, it seems, love is a feeling. Love is an emotion that can be expressed, which means love in all of its aspects is a frequency. Someone can try to tell you what it is, but unless you can feel whatever that love is within you, you can never fully connect to the frequency of it, let alone understand it. When we are born, we first learn about love from our parents. And typically, what we learn about love from our parents is a direct reflection of their genetic imprints and life experiences and overall conditioning. Some of this can be wonderful, and some of it not so much. Many of us living the silver years have parents who are product of what's been called the silent generation, right? You know, that generation that was so shamed and suppressed by societal judgments and expectations about everything that they suffered in silence. How the genetic imprint of this silent conditioning expressed itself in my reality as a child within the realm of love and affection was indeed a great challenge for me growing up. For most children in their early years, the mother figure often sets the stage for the role love will play in their lives going forward. And my mother could only give to me and my four sisters what she had to give. And that was based on what had been given to her, which wasn't much. There was no love or affection in our household growing up. We all just assumed that our parents loved us because they were our parents, even though words expressing love were never spoken. There was never a hug or show of affection, never a kind word or gentle touch. I'm sure I'm not alone in this experience. Let me add, for the purpose of clarity here, there is a big difference between physical care and emotional care, what I consider to be the seen and unseen aspects of caregiving. Physical care being the seen aspect, and emotional care being the unseen aspect. As children, we were not neglected for the most part when it came to our physical care. There were five of us. We were a lot to handle. And sometimes things fell through the cracks, as happens in life. Basically, though, it was assumed that if our physical needs were taken care of, then our emotional needs would take care of themselves. Now, just because there was no expression of love doesn't mean, in the big scheme of things, that my sisters and I weren't loved. And that's important to clarify. But since there was no affection or words affirming that parental love in our childhoods, a lot of assumptions were made. Love was assumed on all sides. And frankly, assumptions lack clarity. They're just guesses. And it's hard to build a good foundation for life on assumptions and guesses. From a frequency perspective, it leaves big gaps in our aura, in our body's energy field. Big gaps. For me growing up, these assumptions and lack of affection translated into the empty feeling that my mother only loved me out of obligation. She loved me because I was her child, and she was obliged to love me, and not because I was worthy of love. I suspect many of us may already know that when you don't feel worthy of love, love will always be missing from your life. It will always be a gap that needs filling. And I have found from personal experience that attempts to fill this gap from outside of myself, through something or someone else, are nothing more than a setup for some hard life lessons through heartbreak. Yet, before I was even aware of any of this, before I had the maturity and life experiences to mentally comprehend this energetic gap that comes from not feeling loved, I knew something was missing deep, deep inside me, something I felt strongly compelled to change. And that change came when I had my first daughter. I was young, very young, when she was born. And I loved her with every fiber of my being, like most mothers do. When she was born, I consciously committed to myself and to her as she grew that not one day would go by without me telling her I loved her. She was hugged, she was snuggled and kissed and given the affection that I never knew as a child. I did the same for her sister as well. I wanted my daughters to know their mother loved them without them having to assume or guess. A small enough thing, right? What surprised me over the next several years was the ripple effect that change in my approach had on my entire family as a whole. The more I said, I love you to my child, and then to my sisters, and then to my parents, the more it became a normalized expression among them all. It took a number of years for my mother to relax into accepting and showing affection. I would say almost 10 years. It took a while. But over time, she did embrace it as best she could, and it did soften her. The practice of expressing love within my extended family as a whole has grown exponentially over the last 50 years and continues to this day as if it's always been that way because my sisters chose to carry it forward into their families as well. It has positively changed the generational inheritance of the entire lineage going forward in a powerful and very obvious way, as seen in the grandchildren and great grandchildren. All this because I chose. I chose to change the pattern. I chose to change the frequency. As I mentioned in a previous video titled To Reveal is to Heal, some of us are born into family lineages to break the patterns, to reset the bloodline. And it's usually done by identifying and then altering the frequency of the distortion patterns using our words and actions. What I've learned in this is that emotions are frequencies, and frequencies create our perceptions and reality. It is never too late to change the distorted frequency of something that needs recalibrating because frequencies are not linear. Frequencies are timeless. And when they're changed, that change ripples out like a stone thrown into a pond in all directions. How was I to know that saying just 3 little words would change a family line forever? The change I effected using the frequency of love has reverberated into no less than 4 generations, and that is no small thing. The change in frequency changed the pattern, which changed the experience for everyone touched by it. And that is a superpower, in my humble opinion. Now, sometimes visuals can show us concepts better than anything else. So I want to share here as I'm concluding a colored chart interpretation based on the map of consciousness as developed by Dr. David R. Hawkins. This work of Dr. Hawkins shows how one's level of consciousness can influence that individual's life experience. And this colored chart categorizes these human consciousness levels from the lower states, such as fear, guilt, and shame, to the higher states, like love, joy, and peace, and ultimately enlightenment. Now, it looks like love is a blue 500 on this chart, which is a far cry from the bottom where it's hot red fear, which is a 10. Huge gap between a 500 and a 10. It's interesting to see how these colors also coincide with the chakra system as well. Kind of cool, huh? And now, because I'm so into questions, I'd like to leave you with a good one. Is there someone in your world that could heal from hearing you speak those 3 little words, even if that someone is yourself? I love you all. Please leave your comments below. I would love to hear your stories. So until next time, be well, choose love, and thank you for listening. Goodbye for now.